Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Irie from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this will be episode 78 for you guys today. This will be a solo episode, just your host only this week. And this will be coming, of course, on all four of our platforms: our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and get episode 78 underway. We're starting off with the first segment of the day. I will be sharing my most disappointing team this NFL season. Now, I had a lot of teams that I could have put on this list, but this team has absolutely disappointed me the most, coming from the NFC side. It's the Green Bay Packers. They find themselves currently at 4-8, currently third place in the NFC North, with the reigning defending back-to-back MVP in Aaron freaking Rodgers. And I've said countless times on this podcast, since I started this podcast covering the Green Bay Packers, that the Green Bay Packers do things over and over and over again. They have been the most underachieving team that's been a legit contender for the last 3 years. They went from having the number one seed, having home field advantage, the road to the Super Bowl, to get to the Super Bowl throughout the NFC side of things, has to have gone through Green Bay, Wisconsin, at Lambeau Field. They had the number one seed going 13-3, 13-3, 13-4, 3 consecutive years, failed to make a Super Bowl out of any of those 3 opportunities. Fast forward a year later, they find themselves currently 4-8, desperately trailing behind the Minnesota Vikings, who are 9-2 in the NFC North. Find themselves 4-8, and this is honestly it's unbelievable. It's despicable. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. The Green Bay Packers have lost 5 out of their last 6 previous games, and it really should have been, they should have lost the 6 out of their last 6 previous games. I don't know how the hell the Dallas Cowboys got beat by this team, but it happened. And they have lost their last 5 out of 6 games in their last 6 outings. So what is really the problem with the Green Bay Packers? All you're missing is Davante Adams. They basically have the same roster that they had last year and the years prior, of going on those big monumental regular season runs, and then fast forwarding having home field advantage in the playoffs. I'm looking at this roster, all you're missing is Davante Adams off this roster. They still have Aaron freaking Rodgers, who, like I just said a few moments ago, the reigning defending back-to-back MVP in this league, one of the most talented guys to ever touch a football in the game of football. You have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, that one of the best 1-2 punches at the running back position in the National Football League. You have Robert Tonyan at the tight end position, who came back from injury this year, but is still a reliable option out there for a pass catcher in this Green Bay Packers offense. They failed to elevate their young receiving core when it matters most. You build chemistry. You build a dynamic with how you're going to use these young receivers. You do all that in training camp and NFL offseason workouts. That's when it matters most. Hell, when the team is off and you're not even practicing, and Aaron Rodgers' job, a certified Hall of Famer, one of the greatest to ever do it, to call up these young wide receivers, want to link up with them, build chemistry away from the team facilities, see what these guys are best at and what they're capable of doing. Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with that this NFL offseason, and was barely around the team during the offseason, and barely came around during training camp. Didn't even participate in the preseason game. So Aaron Rodgers has failed to elevate these young wide receivers during the NFL offseason. And the reason why their offense no one has the finger that I'm going to point at, but the reason why this offense has been so terrible and so devastating to watch at times, is because of Aaron Rodgers, and it's because of Matt LaFleur, for those 2 reasons. And now it's too little too late. You might say, oh, well, Christian Watson is starting to find himself. He's starting to find his groove. Maybe he had his coming out party against the Dallas Cowboys. It's too little too late for this season. Maybe he can build on this for the rest of the 5-6 games that they have left, and build to that towards his second year in the NFL, because it's too little too late. Where was all this chemistry that was being shown, and the trust in Christian Watson throughout the first half of the NFL season? It was nowhere to be found. They gave up on him, and they gave up on the rest of the young wide receivers. I'm looking at the defense. The defense basically has the same roster that they had over the last few years. Made a few adjustments, got a little better on the defensive side of the ball, But I'm still looking at this defensive roster. They still have one of the best defensive back groups in the National Football League. When you talk about Jair Alexander, you talk about Rasul Douglas, you talk about Adrian Amos at the safety position, Darnell Savage at the free safety position. They still have a lot of talent on this Green Bay Packers team. And the team looks defeated offensively and defensively. They have looked this way since the start of week 1 of the NFL season. And it came to show in this Sunday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sitting here tweeting on the podcast account, maybe we're in store for a shootout. Aaron Rodgers came to play. He was moving the ball down the field. Maybe the old Aaron Rodgers would come back to try to get this Green Bay Packers team some type of life like they did in that win against the Dallas Cowboys a few weeks ago. That was not the case because they looked hot to start off with, but they gave up on themselves. And the defense just looked horrible from start to finish, especially when Philly got red hot and that game started off 14-0 within the first 5 to 7 minutes of the ball game. The Packers defense gave up a total of 500 total yards to the Philadelphia Eagles offense. They gave up a total of 363 rushing yards in the loss against the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't care what the circumstances is. Running backs, the Philadelphia Eagles only use a few rush. Maybe they use 3. They do use 3 with small. I think it's Kenneth, whoever number 14 is for the Philadelphia Eagles, but they use him, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott if they want to get him involved, Jalen Hurts in the RPO game with the read options. 323 rushing yards in a game is unacceptable at any circumstances for whatever the reason is. And at this point, you're 4-8. You're 5. You lost 5 out of 6 games. You're looking at the NFC. Currently, the NFC is locked up. The wild card situation is pretty locked up right now. We talk about the Washington Commanders, who own the tiebreaker over the Green Bay Packers. If it even got hot and the Washington Commanders keep this up, they would own the tiebreaker over them. The Packers wouldn't get a playoff spot. Same scenario with the New York Giants. The New York Giants are currently 7-4 and holding on to a wild card spot. They own the tiebreaker against the Green Bay Packers as well. So it's going to be hard for them to somehow, some way, if they could, get out of this hole and run the table and go 9-8. It's unlikely to happen, and they're going to miss the playoffs. So basically, their season has already ended without officially getting the label slapped on them, eliminated. So season is over for the Green Bay Packers. It's time. I think it's time to shut down Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers got hurt in that game Sunday night against the Philadelphia Eagles. Why would you have your franchise quarterback still out there with 5 games to go? Have it that the Green Bay Packers still haven't had their bye week. They have their bye week in week 14. So why would you still have your franchise quarterback out there at this point of the season when the season is basically over and you have a young guy that you traded up the draft for in the first round of 2019 draft, the guy from Utah State, Jordan Love. So it's time to see what you have for him. You traded up in that draft to get him instead of getting a receiver that you could have added to this Green Bay Packers offense at the time. It's time to see what you have in Jordan Love. And what I've seen from Jordan Love in that Sunday game when he came in late in the fourth quarter, I'm not saying he set the world on fire, but he looked pretty good in the time that he was out there. He was making some throws. Had that good slant, I want to say over the middle throw to Christian Watson for a long touchdown. That was a good spiral throw that he had. Had some good looking balls as well, but his receivers couldn't catch the ball when it mattered most towards the end of that Philadelphia Eagles game. But I think it's time to see what you have in Jordan Love. Let him play for the last 5 games. You're out of playoff contention. What are you going to lose from starting him? But overall, no matter if the Packers decide to play Aaron Rodgers this week or not against the Chicago Bears, they're in trouble long term. Due to the reason why, if Aaron Rodgers is not on the team next season, whether they want to release him, I think the only way you can get rid of Aaron Rodgers is from releasing him. Due to the fact that no team is going to be desperate enough to trade for Aaron Rodgers at this particular moment, due to the fact of his massive contract that he signed last NFL offseason. So, due to the fact of that, if the Green Bay Packers just go ahead and want to slap the button on the reset button and go ahead and start rebuilding, if Aaron Rodgers is not on the team next season, it's going to be a $40 to million cap hit on the Green Bay Packers that they would suffer if Aaron Rodgers was not on the roster for next season. So definitely a big hit. A lot of question marks that they're going to have this coming into this offseason. And bottom line is, due to the fact that they decided to give Aaron Rodgers that massive contract last year, they cannot afford free agents this offseason. They have a total of $587.87 million in cap space to work with this NFL offseason. And no matter if you want to make cuts, make trades to clear up some cap space, the top wide receiver is what this Green Bay Packers team needs. Finding another wide receiver to play alongside Christian Watson for sake of the future. But that's not going to happen because the top wide receivers in this upcoming offseason is Nelson Agholor, Sterling Shepard, and DJ Chark. How the hell are you going to get better with, I say this respectfully, how the hell are you going to get better with any three of those guys and your new Green Bay Packers offense? And we know the front office does not make moves. They're not going to go ahead and trade away draft picks, draft capital to get a top-name wide receiver. They had the chance to do that so many times in the offseason. They didn't pursue Odell Beckham. This just shows that the Green Bay Packers are in a tough pickle because of their decision-making. And the front office also refuses to draft offensive weapons. We haven't seen them draft a first-round wide receiver in over a decade. So that just shows you how much faith and how much the Green Bay Packers put into this team when it comes to putting offensive weapons. But I think what I just said, backtracking to what I said a few moments ago, I think the time is now that you sit Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season. You go sit down with him this NFL offseason. You talk to him down one-on-one and ask him, okay, Aaron Rodgers, you signed this extension. What is your long-term goals here? Do you have one more? Are you just going to play for one more season and hang it up? Are you going to be? And if Aaron Rodgers says he wants to stay, they need to have Aaron Rodgers fully committed into this team, because him not being a part of off-season workouts and barely being a part of training camp is one of the reasons why this offense failed to get their feet wet and find their footing and have a true identity this season, because the franchise quarterback felt like he was too good enough not to be involved when it mattered most. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't comply to that and you sit down with him this NFL offseason, I'm just going to take the cap hit as it stands and just let Aaron Rodgers walk. At this point, it just saves the headache. You can find out what you truly have in Jordan Love, because he does have a fifth-year option that they do have to make a decision on picking up for next season. You let Jordan Love play at this point. You have 5 games left. Like I said, they have a bye week in week 14. Have not had their bye week yet. You let Jordan Love play for sake of the season. You get enough film on him to see if they want to move forward with him. If he's going to be the guy that takes over after Aaron Rodgers is done in Green Bay. This is the answers that you have the chance to answer to. And imagine if Aaron Rodgers was not a part of the Green Bay Packers roster next season. Jordan Love was a new franchise guy. I'm just saying. We've seen crazier things happen in the NFL. Never say never. But this is the perfect opportunity to find out what you truly have in Jordan Love. Bottom line, the Green Bay Packers have been the most disappointing team this NFL season. They find themselves at 4-8, gonna miss the NFL playoffs, and they have nobody else to blame but themselves. Definitely my most disappointing team this NFL season.